horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and a massive warm welcome. It's the Bar Stewards Inquiry Sunday sermon, and it's the time of the week when we try and put a smile on your faces, talk absolute gibberish, and certainly have some fun discussing racing's topics of the week. However, this hasn't been the easiest week in racing to have fun. Obviously, we're going to pay tribute. We did it on a tipping pod earlier in the week, but for sermon listeners, obviously we all pay our tributes at the door of legendary commentator John Hunt, who suffered a tragedy this week. I'm not going to get into details. The speech from Richard Hoyles was wonderful.
Yes.
Earlier this week, I couldn't have put it any better than that. It was perfect. We wish him and his daughter well in the coming months in their grievances with what's taken place. There is a fund set up by Mr. Matt Chapman, a set of GoFundMe up. So if you want to look at that, if you'd like to donate, I'm not saying anyone should. I'm not saying that anyone should just go out and do that. I'm not telling people to do it. I'm just saying if you feel that's appropriate or you'd like to do so, then I'm sure it would be appreciated by John and his daughter that are going to have considerable financial expense in the weeks and months ahead, because obviously funerals have to be paid for. He'll not be working, neither will she, I don't think. It's a very tough time for them all. So if that's something you'd like to do, then please do so. Okay, we shall move on from the sadness that's taking place this week and look at Newmarket for the 3 days action. And Super Saturday, John. The Super is not much more, is it?
Yeah, it's rapidly turning into a bit of a lousy day, to be honest. There's too much going on in too concentrated a period of time. I just don't get how stay-at-home punters can be enjoying it, and I don't get how people who are going to the races that like to sail the meetings can enjoy it, because they ain't got time to fart, really, between races.
No, even though they've moved Chester, which has helped in a way, but Chester have been absolutely bleating about being moved. They're not happy at all.
Where have they moved it to? The fucking Irish Sea or something?
Well, I think they kicked off at 4:30 Saturday and afternoon matinee time. I've said in the past, John, I'm more of a fan of racing exploring, especially with bigger meetings, the Friday evening slot. It's a night when you're sure of a decent attendance, because that's the night when, especially the younger audience, which appear to be targeted rather than Chris's saga.
Wallace Arnold coach tours, National Trust holidays, and garden centre cafes. They should get business development staff in the garden centre cafes on a Tuesday morning. They're run out of leaflets.
National Trust members, Chris, as well.
Yeah, RHS and all that.
Yeah, all them mailing lists. You'd be going through them and absolutely turning them into racing fanatics.
You'd write to the secretary of the RHS and say, look, we've got a special discount, like courses in the area, 50% off for members. I guarantee you'd get a decent take-up. I guarantee it.
Only problem with that, though, that racing might get delayed plenty because they're all ambulances taking them to hospital.
Exactly, deaths on course would rise, but I feel that you'd get money in the till anyway, wouldn't you? I'm sure you would.
For sure. Super Saturday, as John says, not so Super Saturday. And it's a track that John particularly loathes. I'm not a fan. Despite us doing quite well this week, he did tip up a few, and that kept people happy. But I think everything needs to be altered the way it's structured. I mean, how can you have, say, Sunday today, you've got Stratford and Perth, and you're not utilising the full weekend? There should be a Friday night meeting with group races on. Ireland do that. And the Sunday should have at least one nice flat card for racegoers to enjoy Sunday racing. Instead, in the summer, there should be one nice flat card a week on a Sunday to make full use of people's social time. Might be a thought, BHA. Anyway, on to the review. We started on Thursday. I didn't mind the racing on Thursday, actually. It was quite all right, the first few races. The field size wasn't enormous for the opener. Ancient Wisdom doing it. Do you see anything in the Bahrain Trophy, John, that gets you excited for the Ledger?
Not especially, because I don't think he beat a lot. He didn't tell us anything that we didn't already know about.
No.
I think 10 to 1's about as short as you'd want for him anyway. So he's not of any great interest to me for the Ledger at the minute.
No, I agree. So Whistle Jacket won the July Stakes and impressed me somewhat because I thought he improved for the little bit of cut in the ground and the step up in trip job.
I'd agree with both of those. How far do you think he'll get this horse? Because, I mean, he's out with a bearing mare that's thrown horses that have performed well at middle distances. If you thought she was going to be much of an influence, you'd maybe be tempted to say he might be very, very good that he can win at these sort of trips.
Do you know why I think they might be a little bit blinkered? Because he's a full brother to, and I'm not saying I know more than Coolmore, by the way, this arrogant statement, but he's a full brother to Little Big Bear, who obviously patently didn't stay, but he was a different type of horse. He was more exuberant, if you remember, all about pace. This lad isn't so much about pace, really. He took off up the hill.
Yeah, in the paddock, he looked like he needed waking up.
Yeah, and I wonder sometimes, being Coolmore and their operation, they're thinking, right, full brother to Little Big Bear, no nay nevers get good 2-year-olds. Let's target the Royal Meeting. But with this lad, I know this sounds daft, but I'm thinking 7 furlong and a mile.
I don't think it sounds daft at all because he relaxes well in his races. He finished that race off perfectly all right. And as I said, the downside tells you he ought to get it. I mean, if he did, wouldn't you say just about ought to be favourite for the Guineas now?
Well, at this stage, I'm certainly not saying I would advocate a punt in the, but I would say on what we've seen on that performance, the fact that I think there's a lot more to come over 7. He's in the national stakes later in the year. It's one of them. I can see the lads, maybe, well, it's not the lads totally, is it? It's the guy in the green colours that owns it as well, but that's never seemed to get right there, horses. I don't know why it is. Whistle Jacket. I think.
Is he not a lad?
Well, I always thought the lads were Tabor Smith Magnier, but I don't know if green coloured man is. Yeah. Me and John, I think, both agree there. We're predicting a big future for Whistle Jack. I think he's going to get better, a lot better. I think once they realise that he ain't a sprinter, 6 in due course will be too sharp for him. I genuinely think by the autumn, this lad's definitely going to need 7 furlongs and possibly a bit more. So we'll see where they go with that. But that's the way I see it. On to Friday. This was a disappointing day for me because I was very keen on the first winner involvement. But you lot that was tipped up on the show, you knocked it in from 9 to 1 to 100 to 30. Disgraceful people taking all the world's ices and just not leaving me anything. The cupboard's bare here, and you keep on doing this. Arabian Dust Job in the Duchess of Cambridge. This was a bit upsetting, I think, for the pair of us.
Well, neither of us thought she should be running there, really.
No.
Especially after what she'd shown at Doncaster. But as luck would have it for the Crisfords, I think the early pace made it a bit more of a stamina test than it might have been. As a result, she's outstayed them, basically. But the way they're talking, I think they're still thinking the 6 furlong campaign. So jury's out on what we might get to expect from her later on, I think.
You are correct in that this was a stamina test, in essence, for 6 furlongs, which is unusual for a Cherry Hinton. Let's get the name of the race right. I felt that, like you said, the further they went, the better she was. And certainly on debut at Doncaster, when you remember, she shaped lovely, bit green, but running right through the line over 6.5. You're thinking, even then, right, she's more of a 7 furlongs type of filly. I think you said to me, if you owned her right now, you would keep her back for something like the Boosack.
Yeah, that'd be it.
And that'd be it, and then Guineas.
Yeah. Wouldn't bother me if she didn't run again this year, in all honesty. I mean, she's done enough, as far as I'm concerned.
We all know they're going to be really stupid and go Lowther, aren't they?
Certainly. I think she's a certainty to turn up in the Lowther, yeah.
Yeah, the big flat 6 at York where you need pace in abundance rather than stamina, a good bit of foot. I think he's going to leave her floundering. So if she starts Fav in the Lowther or close to Fav, she'll be getting a few stripes in the book from us bar stewards, I think. So it's a shame. John, it might be worth you emailing the Crisfords. You love an email to a trainer.
Yeah. I don't think I'll bother after Gallow's way.
What we heard about her?
0.
They killed her?
Right, a bang out, couldn't she?
Yeah. So that was the highlight of the day for us, and it was a low light, so to speak, in the fact that John and myself spotted her on debut, and we thought, here we go again. Sadly, it is here we go again. Because, we're not going to get the races we want to run in, so we've got to leave that project. On to Super Saturday then. Cover a few races here, just obviously for listeners that do like our thoughts on certain things before we get to the good stuff, juicy stuff, and fun stuff. Kudwa won the Summer Mile at Ascot, John. Workman-like in the end. I don't think he was doing a lot in front, if I'm honest. I think he's that kind of horse. I think he just gets there and just pulls that little bit out. Despite being unbeaten, doesn't really strike me as a Sussex Stakes horse.
His head came up a bit for me when he got in front. I didn't like it, and that's the end of my involvement with him.
Well, you'll say that. He's done it on every start. I think it's his style.
That's as far as I want to go with him.
I know what you mean. I don't think he's that level anyway. I don't think he's Sussex State. To be honest, if there's a race for him, and again, we like to picture races for future, I would like to see him, if he is Group 1, and he does turn out Group 1, I'd like to see him in a Queen Anne next year if he's still in training. I think that race would suit him ideally, the straight mile at Ascot. I think when he beat Docklands and gave Docklands ground and still knocked it off, I thought, well, Docklands was second in it this year. I think the Queen Anne would be the perfect race for Kudwa next year if he does prove that he is genuinely a Group 1 animal. Okay, we'll switch to our home venue, which is, of course, York, the best track in the land. John Berry yesterday giving plaudits to our track, John, because I've not had a runner at York for 15 years. And he said it was a delight to turn up to York as we ate like kings, and they even give them goodies for the way home, like cakes and things for the way home in the truck. Now, I was thinking, well, David Easterby can't have been there, can he?
No, he can't have been. If those spares in the canteen.
They'd bring your own truck for that, wouldn't they? Fucking that would be a separate old box to put the goodies in.
Yeah, Mick could have took them back. John Berry got toe in the water there with some nice goodies. And it's nice to see a track treating trainers, staff with the utmost respect. And they're eating well and everything else. So, yeah, I can't fault York for that. That was really nice to read. Always a good account to follow is John Berry. At our home track then, Blue for You won the John Smith Handicap. The reason I'm covering this race is because obviously it's a subsequent trial for the Golden Mile, if you like, at Glorious. So anything out of there, John?
And the Hambleton.
Yeah, forget the Golden Mile, it's Goodwood. Fuck it off. But the Hambleton as well. Now, Blue for You confirmed his well-being with a good win. I did think, though, two idiots, Northern Express, the eventual second, Mulrennan, and Cuban Tiger, Sam Jane, were morons for the last 4 furlongs. They hit 40 just off the bend as they quickened it up. 4 furlongs out, you hit 40.
Yeah, you're not quite going to phase out, are you?
No. So it kind of fell apart late, despite them having the run of the race early on and getting a nice trip to the bended Cuban Tiger and Northern Express. You're thinking it's between those, but then they decided to play wacky races from 4 out, and it was Stop That Pigeon.
I think under 10-2, I think you can give Northern Express a bit of a pat on the back there. So
brilliant. If Northern Express is drawn better than Blue for You, if they're rematching Hambleton, I'd rather be Northern Express with Blue for You going up in weights more. And Northern Express, I think, was a little bit unlucky there with Sam. Sam's horse got lit up, I think, by the loose horse, but I think also they just couldn't wait to kick morons. So there we go. That's what I thought out of that. We go to the John Smith Cup. Any view here, John? Enf Jar was tipped up by the pod, so well done, the pod. Anything that you sort of like noted in this?
I thought Kingfisher King did very well first time out, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was absolutely primed for it, given the trainer's record in the race. Epic Poet did marvellous from the bad draw to get into it, I thought.
Yeah.
I think that gives him a very good chance in the A, but he's put 2 really solid runs together now off 97. So I think he'd have to come into A calculations. I thought Take Heart did really well as well from a horrible draw. In the first time check paces, I thought that was a promising run. And given Mr. Mert's propensity to love this game when it gets out of the August, mate, and I wouldn't be surprised to say that one back there.
You know what upsets me with Group 1 Johnny and his loving of this game? This horse is one horse I would never, ever, ever, ever put cheek pieces on or any form of headgear. It's as tough as old boots. Its head's down, it battles like a trooper. I know it's ran all right under pieces, but it doesn't need them.
No.
It's finding its way. It's off 96 now after starting handicaps in the 80s. When you start progressing like that, it takes time and physical development for the horse to then get up to winning off 96. And I wish some of these trainers would just have a bit more patience. There's no way on the planet this horse wants cheap pieces. I'm not having it. It's been on my list to back many a time. It's had 9 starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, and 1 third. It's a disgrace to put cheap pieces on this horse, and that's an idiotic thing to do, in my opinion. But there we go. How many Group 1 winners have I ridden? Says I love this game. Moving on to HQ. It's this track. I agree with John, right? The July Cup. We'll go straight to the point, really. We'll go to the July Cup. And Inisherin's run what? I'd say about a stone below Ascot.
Yeah.
Do you think that's Kevin Ryan not able to back them up sometimes, or do you think it's just a case Ascot might have flattened him, or?
He backed up our race at Ascot from Haydock. He's had a reasonably enough gap. As a rule, horses tend to do all right from Ascot to the July Cup. There's not many horses win July Cups that haven't run at Ascot. I just think this track's a load of cock, to be honest.
I know why you don't like it a lot. To explain to listeners why John doesn't like the July course more than anything, is that you think that the surface is watered to high L and always cuts up off the top. And secondly, there's barely a racing line. Am I right?
Yeah. Every race. The spread all over the track, you know, I mean, it'd be more akin to the horrors of Balaclava, wouldn't it, than what you see on a race course. It just looks like the last remnants charging the guns. You know, half the time, I just don't want to even have a bet there.
Once it gets in your head as well, you know, with certain tracks, once it does get in your head, it plays with you as well. And that brings us on to a question, first listener question from Mr. RD. And he says, least favourite tracks to watch, attend, and bet on. And all three of us can answer this. So, John, obviously we know your views on Newmarket July. Are there any other courses that you particularly loathe to bet on?
Yeah, Brighton, Hamilton. I'm not over keen on Musselburgh.
Yeah.
Fosslas.
Going through them all here.
So that would be it.
Crapster, yeah, right. Interesting stuff. Right, some good mentions there. Chris, I'm coming to you because like you've been in the game a long time.
Yes, Brighton. I hate Brighton. I think it's a really, really difficult track. I agree. Actually, to be honest with you, I don't deviate much from what John said. I think Fosslas is horrible, isn't it? I mean, you just can't get your head around that. Brighton's shocking. And I'm not massively keen, a bit controversial, on York. I do think, for my own purposes, that the races do seem to fall apart there. And I've had many, many bets where horses have sort of tailed off there. So maybe that was last season. Maybe they've sort of, you know, it's changed now. But certainly Brighton would be the top of my list. I think it's a horrible place.
Well, you're wrong on York.
No, it's controversial, but Brighton is foul, isn't it? And I'm not keen on Epsom, really, for the same reason.
I think that's it. I think advice to any punter, rather than me go through tracks and name them, because I think you two have sort of done fairly good jobs with that. I would say any track that provides extra variables into your bet. For example, Chester. You might have a lot of bad luck in running. Wolverhampton, you might have a lot of bad luck in running. They're difficult tracks to win because they're on the turn and there's short runnings. And if you've got no run, then you're punishing yourself because you've had the bet thinking this is the best horse in the race. It likely is, but then it can't get a run. I think the idea as a punter, this is why when we often unload as bar steward, you look at tracks like Newbury, Doncaster, Yarmouth, ones with long straights, you're getting out of excuse zone, aren't you? Because it's just about the fastest horse then. Because
and it compensates often. Those tracks compensate often for the lack of ability in some riders. You know, they can afford to get it wrong, and still the best horse can get them out of trouble. At places, you know, like as you say, Wolverhampton, etc., they don't have that option, do they? So often you'll see very badly ridden horses win at those venues because the horses got them out of trouble because they've got enough time to correct their error.
For sure. Yeah, totally agree. It's like why Spencer will ride more winners at Doncaster, Ascot, Yarmouth. Why
Yeah.
Simcock, we've said the best trainer in the land because of his strike rate and the fact that for us he does it wrong because he holds them up at the wrong places. That's the thing. These tracks are forgiving for missing the kick or you're not on the front end. You do that at Beverley, you're goosed and things like that. So I would say as a punter, try and tailor your bets where you think there's less chance you're actually going to get fucked by a bad ride or a bad trip, which is quite a lot of them.
Yeah, hell yeah.
There we go. Some good thoughts there from the lads. So coming on to Super Saturday, John, you were impressed this week with Ed Chamberlin and the appointment of Dido Harding, of course, this week to the Jockey Club, which is a disastrous call in our view and I think in most sane people's views, given her track record in the business sector. And you was very happy, John, with Ed Chamberlain's interview. Tell us more.
Well, I was highly delighted because he did something that nobody's actually managed to do with Dido Harding since COVID broke out.
Fister.
No, I'm sure somebody would have done that before.
Figuratively speaking.
He actually chucked a say Ray at her.
Yeah.
Not physically, but metaphorically. He basically said, given your track record and your say Ray, were you surprised you got this job?
Yeah.
It was an absolute fantastic question for completely wrong footing.
She's a Steve McLaren of industry. She's a catalogue of failure.
The only comeback she had really was, I've always liked racing.
Well, that's good then, isn't it?
She's rode winners. She's earned a Gold Cup winner, John.
The typical sort of thing that you get from somebody that's just utterly entitled.
Yep.
Because I've always liked racing, I deserve a top job in racing.
Yep, quite right.
She won't say she's done anything wrong, but I thought Ed played a blinder there, and he showed racing up for what it is for appointing her.
I mean, I like women, but they're not going to appoint me chairman of the Playboy industry, are they? I mean, it's that sense of entitlement. John's nailed it. It's, because I like something, de facto, I'm entitled to be in charge of it. It's it's that entitlement. It's that kind of sense of, breeding, connections, etc. That kind of shone through. I thought it just showed her for what she is.
It's the biggest foot shooting I think I've seen racing do of late with Harrington.
Yeah.
And Dido Harding. What I would say is I'm always willing to give someone a bit of time, and I still am here. I'll listen to what she does, but what I've listened to so far, and I've listened to all the interviews, and all I hear is word salad.
The more it changes, the more it stays the same, isn't it? That old phrase.
Talk about when someone talks 15 minutes but says absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Not like this show, really. But
yeah, I was going to say that hour and a quarter normally, isn't it? Same nonsense, just different. The words are in a different order.
Harrington's a master of that, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed?
Corporate speak. These people are skilled at it.
And it's the same as like the Gambling Commission head honcho, Andrew John Rhodes, when he was skillfully questioned in the parliamentary hearing about, well, why hasn't the survey been published? What's the delay after all this time? And skillfully, politically, he came back with, yes, this is something we must look into. And
stakeholder review, strategic engagement, deliverables, 5-year plan.
Yeah.
What these people are brilliant at, and I use the word in the correct sense. They are brilliant at talking in generalities and in the future. What they are shit at is when you pin them down to a specific, they're rubbish at it. Because they're very confident about talking about the brave new world and what's happening in future and everything except the precise question. And that's how you can expose these people, by talking about specifics. Because if you let them sort of, give them free rein to talk about generalities and the strategic plan, they'll dance rings around you, because that's what they're brilliant at.
Have you noticed? So another figurehead, I've left one out, Michael Duggar at the BGC. Someone else, you could interview him, and he'd worm his way out of literally every little, without answering a question. He'd put it back on you, or he'd switch it to something else. Or it's what they're designed to do. They're like robots.
Yep.
And that's what runs organisations, where they avoid skillfully to answer difficult questions. And I think racing has got more of that with track and trace, test and trace, whatever you want to call it, the head of the Jockey Club. added to her list of failures like talk and everything else that she's seemed to have put her hand to. This is after owning a Gold Cup winner and riding loads of winners as an amateur. I just fear for racing with these appointments. Is that what they want then? Is they want someone to be able to hold their own with political speak to just fend off shitty questions at why your organisation's failing?
Yeah, they do. They absolutely prize that ability to speak corporate speak over and above actual, rendering actual meaningful positive change. That's secondary to the ability to present the industry in a positive light to its political paymasters. And that's what these people are recruited on for, their ability to do so. And that's sad, really, isn't it? You see, it's not like, say, for instance, you were appointed, I don't know, the CEO of a particular corporation, and after 2 years, the shareholders will say, hang on, the value of our shares is going down the toilet. We're losing market share. You're shit. We're going to vote you out. Because, the metric of success there is what value you can deliver for shareholders. Racing doesn't have that because it has very fuzzy metrics, doesn't it? And they can always pull something out the bag to say, actually, my reign as CEO has been an unqualified success because we have more people with wooden legs attending racing than ever before. They make up their own kind of sort of deliverables and their own kind of targets and results, and that's good enough to succeed in these kind of sort of pseudo corporate roles.
Yeah, we watch with interest on that one, and there'll be further comment from us, I'm sure, down the line after she's done a few months in the job. Is Kilt Junior, John, in the bin? These are troubled times for Kingsley House. They are struggling for form. Their runners look like they're dropping out the back of the telly, some of them. Is this Kilt Junior that's not got his mind on the job? What's the screaming Kilt doing in the background, John?
Well, he'll probably be screaming. I mean, to me, this has just been a long time in coming that this outfit gets exposed. And I've never rated Johnson Senior as a trainer, despite the numbers. I mean, we all know how many races he has gifted on the front end. If you'll get sent big Brontosaurus slabs of horses that just keep galloping, you're going to win an awful lot of races that way. But I think the thing is now, he's been sent a lot of earlier tapes, and he's not cutting the mustard with them. If you go back to when he was having like lots of middle distance handicap winners at Ascot and Goodwood, he wasn't getting runners in the Coventry and the Norfolk and things like that, but he seems to have an awful lot of candidates coming up to Ascot these days for the 2-year-old races, and I don't think he's training them terribly well.
Yes, the jury's out because, I mean, we know that the Johnston camp seemed to have dips in form during a season, but it doesn't seem to take place during...
It's a bit like Grand Canyon, though, isn't it?
Yeah, during Newmarket, they have winners. Glorious Goodwood, they have winners. We'll see how that plays out, but they've no festival winners. They've nothing. Trained nothing of any note this summer to do anything.
And imagine the abject misery up on Middle and Mower at the minute.
He'll be off on his plane.
Not that it's not one of the most miserable places on earth at the best of times, you know.
One more racing question before we got something about jockeys as well to talk about, which is quite interesting. But Stephen Thomas has been on worst drives in racing. That was one of your questions, John, of course, on the Twitter thread. He says Kelso and Fakenham. You never think you're going to make it before the first race. All loads of A and B roads and shit like that. What's the worst drive you've had to race courses, John? Why have you said that? I don't mind it, actually. Where me and Jess go when we've got it, it seems quite picturesque.
Well, you sort of nailed it there when you mentioned Jess, because you've gone with agreeable company. I went up there with Benny.
Well, yeah.
To watch his horse run, he was absolutely buzzing all the way up.
Yeah.
I think he copped about 3 speeding tickets.
They're quite strict up there, aren't they?
20 plenty, it says on the road signs. That was quite amusing until we got the post the following week.
Like the Wicker Man up there, isn't it? Anywhere north of the border.
Yeah, I mean, and the grey faces and the pinched expressions as you're driving past them in the sideways rain, you know.
Yeah, horrible.
air in October, I would not recommend.
And all that shortbread as well. Fucking tins and tins of shortbread.
Chris, what you're saying is your southern perspective. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
you hit our districts and it's like
Oh,
outside toilets, and then you go up
oh
north and it's
yeah.
like the Wicker Man.
Yeah, it
Like,
is. Yeah, exactly. Christopher Lee with a smashing haircut. Yeah. And people swallowing frogs to cure sore
Yeah.
throats and all that sort of
I would honestly say, this is my opinion, I'm sure some will agree with this. Cheltenham is absolutely
Yeah,
dreadful.
it is.
It's all right getting there. You get like within like 5 miles of the track. Doesn't matter even if it's not a festival day. You're just stuck for about 3/4 of an hour, maybe an
Yeah.
hour, just not moving until you,
Yeah.
because it hasn't got the infrastructure to cope with all the cars coming in.
See, last time I was there, like, I was all right because I fucked off straight after the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Got out quick.
Yeah, Desert Orchid had won the Gold Cup. I'd back 10 plus. I'd basically had enough before Desi had got his saddle off.
Yeah.
So I was
Bite
away.
out.
Coming on to a thing about jockeys now. We have said for a while that the standard of jockeyship on bar stewards is a lot lower than in the past. You can make your own minds up why that is, whether it's the coaching, whether it's just we're just thicker. There's lots of variables at play here, but I have real life data to prove that something strange is going off in the world of statistical horse racing rides. Now, we all complain about the slowly run races, well, most of us do that bet on a daily basis. I did some data grabbing, and races of 1 mile and 3 furlongs or further, right, and 110% finishing speed. So on the sectionals, very slow paces. In other words, they're quickening up right to the line. They're sprinting, basically, in layman's terms. So here's the stats, and this is the last 5 years. In 2020, 20.35% were run at that pace or slower. 20.44% in 2021, 21.94% in 2022. In 2023, whip changes, 23.28% went up markedly. So far this year, 26.84% of races at 1 mile, 3 races or further were extremely slowly run. Now, this is where we're at. So there's only 2 questions for this, really. You either say jockeys that are getting to the front in these staying events are knowingly changing their riding style, parking the bus because they know that the ones at the back can't get enough smacks into them to get them to respond. And it's clever to do so and to change that way of riding. Or B, they're shit apes. So there could be a combination of both there. But the one thing I would say, how does this suit owners and breeders of staying horses? This is dreadful news. You can't breed Nathaniels and staying types now to running staying races and get a run of the race, John.
It's dreadful, isn't it, really? You can sort of give up on older horses at middle distances, really, because you know boat's just going to be a catalogue of misery, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Oh, if only they'd gone quicker. You know, it was a fast finishing fourth. If only they'd gone quicker, it got out, you know, and the thing the failed out, we might have got a run. He's finished on the bread. Yeah, fucking hell, tough shit. It's not good.
Is this the coaching? James Willoughby, who's not been on TV for a long time, did a decent piece actually on.
Mill was on the more recent than him, wasn't
Yeah, I know, but he made a good point about like how we should ride a mile and a half. And he said, really, these type of horses, they need to be going at sort of 35 mile an hour, like constantly. And what seems to be happening, certainly in some more weather races, are they might go hard for the first 2 or 3 to get the position, but then the big anchor comes down for the ship. It slows it right down.
Tends to be bend, I think.
Yeah.
There's a mad rush for the first bend, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, this park then.
The thing is, I'm talking about the industry though. There's people that invest lots of money, like in staying types, and would get good money for horses at sales to make jumping horses or potentially race abroad in Australia. How on earth does this kind of riding appeal to these owners that basically are just having to close off terrible tracks?
You would hope eventually they're going to notice the trend, and you know, they'll get to the end of one season and wonder why they've only had 2 winners. These people, and then when they look a bit deeper, you might think that somebody out there might just say, don't go and park the bus, go out and make the running, but there was Steve Carson and wind it up from the 7 pole. That's only sure.
You've just brought up a wonderful point there. Oh, Steve Cawthon. Coo used to take piss out of me because, like, I used to always say Cawthon got a clock in his head and all this lot. But I would say Cawthon would have ridden more track work in America prior to coming over here, getting horses to run at a speed that the trainer requested them to run at. They get bollocked over there in America if they either go too fast on them or go too slow. That's the idea. You've got to train your own mind to think this feels like 35 mile an hour. It can be done. I'm not saying you can judge it right every time. I'm saying that you would ride enough work, track work or horse work to say, I must be going 34, 35 here. This is what it feels like.
These lads know how long it takes to complete a furlong, basically.
Yeah.
And they're counting.
Mm.
And they're such experienced counters, they're not that far out. You know, I would say Carson and Gary Stevens are exceptional on the gallops if you asked them to do anything.
I'd also include Dettori in that.
Yeah. Well, less knowledge about Dettori any work or anything, but of people I've seen hard work, Carson and Gary Stevens would be head and shoulders above anyone else.
It's what the game requires right now for me. That's what the game requires. It requires someone that could start riding them to sleep, basically, because these jockeys that are doing this at the moment, it's ranked by. I'm not saying it's bad tactics for them if they can anchor it down on front and they've got an horse that can quicken off the front end. They're just riding for their living. But at the same time, it's not doing the breed or the owner or anyone else any good doing these farcical races, and it's on the increase. Oh, maybe trainers need to get a grip and tell the jockeys.
From a selfish standpoint as well, I mean, punters are getting pissed off with it.
Yeah, who wants to bet in staying races when it's like, oh, they set off at ridiculous speed and park the bus? It's just boring to watch as well. It's like, oh, here we go down to 32, 31. Not good for punters, not good for anyone, not good for owners, not because they're not going to get the best out of anything held up. And even fair races, I think, all we need for staying races. But anyway, that's my complaint, and the stats bear that up. Ruled by fake numbers. I read an article in the New Statesman, 400 plus suicides, again quoted by Willie Dunn of the New Statesman. Chris, this again is lazy journalism, and I'm sorry, but when I say ruled by fake numbers, this is bringing down a racing industry because they're quoting and still quoting proven false numbers.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right. It is lazy journalism. You know, it's a number that's been pushed around, hasn't been properly challenged or sort of stress tested. So, unfortunately, because the racing industry has allowed this kind of fake narrative to go unchallenged for too long, you know, the longer you leave it, the more difficult it is to change people's belief that there are, 400 gambling related suicides a year, and that the blame must lay squarely at the door of those in charge of the sport. They should have been pushing against this narrative 2 years ago, but now it's kind of almost accepted, isn't it? You know, it's kind of, that's the number, gambling bad, must do more to stop it. And I'm afraid you reap what you sow, don't you?
That was more or less the article, that apparently he spoke to a leading, and I'm doing the 2-finger thing here with both hands, data scientist. Data scientist, I love these data scientists. Could be anyone, it could be a leading data scientist. Where's that got us in the last few years?
Paranormal investigator. It's got that kind of, it's some bloke with a YouTube channel that goes around haunted houses. It's the same credibility, isn't it?
Yeah. And him that's dead.
Yeah. Derek Acora. Yeah. What was it?
Has he been in touch since he died, by the way?
John says, does he get in touch since he died?
Yeah, he's a regular coach. Fanny Loves Dick. That was his favourite one, wasn't it?
Yeah, get the Ouija board out and contact Derek.
So what's it like down there, Derek?
Like your cellar, John.
Bit warm.
Yeah. Nice and warm. Got 2 bars on. Yeah.
There we go. Like more rubbish written in the media, but this is like mainstream publications, which is worrying because people read it and just go, "Oh, that's terrible, 400 suicides." And this is where we're at. Entire lives are ruled by crap numbers.
I've already made provision. Like I've got my note ready, and it says So this is for when I blow my brains out. It says
Yep.
this is not fuck all to do with racing. This is entirely due to a lack of funds, lack of sex action, and everybody hates me guts.
Yeah.
I see a market mover on the Barstew's death swing.
Yeah, there's a shortener. You should stage it to make it look like Julie Harrington's done
Yeah.
it. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Come on,
Yeah.
listeners, which one of us is going first? Is it the man with the dodgy liver? Is it the guy with the depression? Is it the guy that's skint? Is it the guy that's standing up for everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all of those, actually. So, yeah, I'm just the faces are betting me, I promise you. The right people are
I
on.
might just write in my diary before I do the deed. I might just put, I've heard a noise downstairs. I think it might be that Jolie Harrington again.
Yeah, exactly. No, Julie, we can sort this out. Put the gun away, yeah.
Right, we've got two funny questions, but before we get on to the funny questions to finish the show, we've got a small matter. We are not totally shit. Yes, we've won an SBC podcast award, a difficult one to win. Yes, we finished 4th 3 years ago. We finished 3rd last year. And this year, we have landed the gold medal, outpointing all the commercial podcasts, which is an amazing achievement, I must say, because for a podcast like us to do that, it's astonishing. And we're very honoured in a way because...
Massive thanks to both our listeners for voting so many times.
Yeah, the race to the bottom. Yeah, this is it. We lead it.
And
a couple we beat Kate Tracy as well, all her thirsty followers. Not enough, mate.
They'd have followers from all the racing creeps. She wins every racing creep award every month, doesn't she? To meet Mountie at Gigi and Kate Tracy, who's winning all them racing creeps awards. It's
unpleasantness,
yes. Yeah, we are privileged. So 2 questions on that. One from Bert Doncaster. Hello, Bert. Bert and Ernie, I reckon.
Hey, Bert. Yeah.
Hi, Bert.
Hey, Bert. Yeah.
Right. Oh, dear.
Children's television.
Yeah. Here it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going. Now that you're award winners, no doubt advertisers will be wanting you to endorse their products. Which 3 products best fit the Barstew's profile? So I'll start us off. And I thought, given our sort of like profile, gin, Rehypnol, and payday loan companies.
Love it. Love it. I love that. I'm going to go Anusol, right? Smith & Wesson and Amigo loans, which I've already signed you up for, Lee. So next payment's next month, mate. You better make it.
Amiga. Yeah. John?
I think Raljex deserves a mention, and possibly a well-known pate manufacturer, and of course the ubiquitous Ocean Finance.
Yeah. They're gone now, Ocean Finance. They've been taken over a couple of days. They're gone skint. I've tried them.
Yeah. What was the owner of that? Was it
Carol? Well, it was Carol Vorderman, and it was David Johnson, wasn't it?
Yeah, David Johnson. He tried to nick Sangster's colours, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Sangster nicked Fred Pontins to a certain extent, didn't he? So.
Yes. Yeah, he did actually. The old holiday camp man, wasn't it? Yeah. But I reckon Smith & Wesson should sponsor us because, you know, who's going to take the bullet first, huh?
True. That's a good one, Chris. Yeah, the old Smith & Wesson. Colt 45.
Yeah. Sponsored by Sig Sauer and fucking, you know, Armalite rifles. Yeah.
So we've got guns, gin, Rehypnol, payday loans, pate.
Interesting there's not a sponsor for coming from racing there.
No, quite.
No, we can't go there because.
No, ask Baldy Fred. He sponsors out at the minute. I reckon he's got the checkbook out. We should
even he has limits, Chris.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Second question on the SBC Awards. Samuel the Cat, who we all love, and he says Oscars over the last 100 years have had some incredible speeches, with the winner thanking family, friends, and releasing political messages, inspiring quotes. Now the Barsters have finally achieved something with that SBC award. What would each of your individual speeches be like? Well, I'll start us off. I'll probably try and do a Gervais and just call everyone pedos. And
yes. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that.
Do the old Gervais. Yes, you there. Let's check your hard drive. No. I would say, look, it is humbling to do it. As I said, we're a complete ragtag bunch of idiots. To actually do it from what me and John started the show off in terms of mental health, just to keep us from committing the death sweep early. We decided to do this, and to actually be acknowledged by the punters and the listeners in that sort of way is very honourable, to prove that we are not totally shit. John.
Right, then I would say something along the lines of, my lords, ladies and gentlemen,
Fucking hell.
Finally recognising the hard work that I have put into making the Bar Stewards what it is.
Yeah.
A foul-mouthed, sexually explicit, misogynistic and frankly juvenile collection of absolute worst that racing people can come up with. Especially
Yes.
to the producer, who brings everything together to seem like we're all in the same room, when in reality we cannot bear to be within 100 metres of each other.
True, that's true.
Also, thanks to everyone who makes the sermon what it is. Lee, Chris, Greenhalls, Tanqueray, Gordon, Mechanite, Ramapril, Cadbury's and Tango Ice Blast.
Oh, yes. Tango Ice
And I
Blast.
also thank you, our two listeners, who, if they could be asked to turn the computer around and click on something else, would return this podcast to the oblivion it richly deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
No, I think that's an absolute showstopper from John.
Yeah.
I think next year we'll give someone else a chance. Eh?
Yeah.
I think we'll just tell nobody not to vote next year.
Yeah, vote for Kate Tracy.
Yeah, we'll go back into obscurity. I don't want to be like
Yeah.
Daryl Carter bragging that I've won it 3 times.
No, don't do that. No,
I don't want any of that shit.
no,
I don't
not at all.
have to worry about that.
It's like that one-off FA Cup win, isn't it? It's like
We are Sunderland in '73, yeah.
when Wigan beat Man City, that's us. Yeah. So we're done with that. Don't vote ever again.
No bother.
Right, 2 funny questions to finish. One's from the chief trumpeter, Chris Pull. This is a great question, to be honest, because I could expand on this a little bit. And it says, plenty of winner this week at the gaff you wanted shutting down. Well done. Nice backhanded compliment there, Chris. I will see you.
Like that. Yeah.
I will see you next week at the SBC Bash. Drill you down on that. What are the panel's favourite shouts to Raw 1 home? Like he's heard like home, go on, my son. Aye, not too far. Call a copper. Pay.
Yeah, that's a guy's old one. That I like that.
Chris.
Well, on the rare occasions where I back a winner, so you're testing my memory. I think it's kind of a hybrid, isn't it? I always say, go on, my cocker, off you go. Or get it ready, bookies. That's a good one. But but invariably you follow that up with a further comment, because when you see sort of horses closing, if you're on the final furlong, you have to say, you look down at your ass, that's that behind? Fuck off whatever is following you up. So if it's number 7, fuck off 7, fuck off 7, fuck off 7, as the gap closes.
The producer's nodding.
Yeah, but you have to encourage the others to keep a respectful distance from your selection, lest you get run over in the last furlong. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, that happens a lot here at home now.
Fuck off behind.
When you kick clear, you kick 2.5 clear, and it's like the initial roar happens, and then you see something just bursting from the pack, and it's like, fuck off, fuck off.
Fuck off, and you draw it out with your head, don't you? When you watch, as the line approaches, you notice your head moves from left to right as you kind of back away from the telly, as if you're kind of making the finish, you're trying to draw the finish line towards your horse that's in the lead. Yeah. That's a strange thing to do, but everybody does it.
Yeah, John, when you've really had the lot on, I know you've loved your multis in the past, and you've got one for a multi. And it's the front.
I've long since given up on the English language, and I have a collection of noises that I make. If it's a triumphal shout as one's pulling clear, it's like... And if there's something bearing down on me, it's sort of like...
Yeah. What the fucking hell's this thing? Yeah. How the fuck is that one? Yeah.
Back to some stories now on this question, because we can sort of go back to betting shop characters and stuff. Sheffield Dogs back in the late 80s, early 90s, I used to clerk there quite a lot. It was a fabulous place to be, really, full of characters, big punters. There was one bloke, and he was a big punter. Everyone loved him, really. Every time his dog hit the front down the back straight and he knew it stayed, he made this sound. I've carried this through when I've backed big winners on track. It's quite revolting, really, and people look at you going out, but he kind of went, ah, ah, ah.
Alarm going off, fire alarm.
Ah. That's all he did. Just shout at the top of his voice and do that. And I did that at Newcastle when Sottrell did it. There weren't many there, but the looks I got was astonishing. I didn't know where I was, and I'm looking around, everyone's staring at me, gone out as if to say, is he having an heart attack?
Yeah.
The old betting shop characters, like we said, it was great back in the day. The Rastas, the Chinese, were fantastic in betting shops. You know, the Rastas from the Ras Clark, cut your face to blood, Lester Pig at Ras Clark. You got another one.
Business.
Aaron Corrals once in town, and Wimbledon were on, and Martina Navratilova, Ras Clark, cut your face to blood, Zina Garrison, Ras Clark.
And of course, animal welfare considerations, don't apply when punters are on the verge of backing a winner. Many times they go on, cut him in half, fucking cut him in half. When the whips are flying. So it's none of this. We keep within the guidelines. Punters are quite happily to see horses beaten to death if it means
to get up.
the winner. And that's the reality. People might go, that's awful, and it is, but. Listen, and Blogger unfairly, I think, got a lot of stick, didn't he? Hit him, because every fucker said that, haven't they? Everybody said
in the lifetime, It's only
of
because
course,
times have changed and how we see things now. Even down to me doing impressions of Rastas or Chinese. And
yes.
like now, the people say that's racist. Like, what are you on about? It's like, that's like what they sound like. What you're not Scots. Like,
No.
The Chinese are amazing in casinos and that. You're playing blackjack with them. Yeah. It's like picture.
That's right, yeah. Greek waiters and restaurants that they've got their own thing. They lose their shit with at the casino tables. Every country, every group of people has their own way of punting and how they react to it. So it's just people, isn't it? That's all. Just people.
It's like the winning and losing of money. No one likes losing. No. It hurts. So to win, emotion. It's
my least proud moment in gambling, which I'm not happily disclosed, but it's a shameful example of how, in the moment, the most important thing is money. I had 40 quid. I can't remember what it was. Chris Eubank, when he fought Michael Watson, and ended Michael Watson, not just his boxing career, but effectively his life. And when Watson was obviously in big trouble, I got off at the sofa and said, "Go on, Chris, fucking finish him." And as this poor man collapsed, everyone in the room was cheering because I'd won like 35 quid.
Yeah.
And what a shameful recollection. But that's what gambling does to you. And as you've said before, thing about money, bud, is it makes you do things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so, that's it's a shameful thing to do. I was cheering a man's obviously fucking been ironed out because I won 35 quid. But in the moment, 95% of punters do have that, flickering across their kind of mind's eye.
Yeah, that consigns you to hell without.
Yes, it does. No, it does, and it's absolutely inexcusable. Other than the fact, as I say, it was years and years ago, and that. But yeah, I got so go on, fucking iron him out. Yeah, he's fucking gone down. Now at the time, you didn't know he was obviously virtually mortally wounded, but yeah, I've won. He's injured. Great. I'll pick up 35 quid. Wow, whatever it was.
John, do you miss the old betting shop characters?
Oh, I do. We had one bloke who used to come in our shop regular. He always overextended himself, so he got quite lively if he was in with a chance of winning and there was a furlong to go. And this one day, I forget what he'd backed, but he'd had more on than he should. And as things were reaching crescendo point inside the last furlong, he not only managed to spew up, he also managed to shit himself.
That's brilliant. That's quality. I love that. That's lovely, isn't it? A fun day out for all the family. Fucking shit.
How many betting office managers could we say interview or ask? Because some betting office managers back in the day had to clean the toilets. They didn't employ a cleaner. It was the betting office manager. Number of people that had dropped shopping and not pulled the flush.
Drop the kids off at the pool, yeah. Before they got to the pool, yeah.
And some of the sites I saw as a betting office manager cleaning the toilets wasn't.
Well, that was the good thing with this lad. At least he took the shopping home with him. And he
stank like, but yeah.
Oh, God almighty.
Great days in the betting shops. You had to be a character in the 80s and 90s in betting shops. Great days.
Oh, yeah. You used to have the old bald man, the local one that I used to frequent. You had a guy that was friends with Scotch Jack Buggy that was a gangland figure that was found, body was found rolled up in a carpet and ended up on the beach. You had all these kind of shoplifters coming in, provide, say what you want.
Jars of coffee, deodorant, yeah.
Just think what do you want. He used to be taking, this old boy used to be taking orders. What do you fancy pair of Loke shoes? What colour do you want? Well, I want the Oxford Brogues. You want slip-ons or like? No, I'll have lace-ups. He used to come in following week with his orders. He's like, master, you just get everything in a betting shop, couldn't you? It was an incredible place.
I had one come in that stole the entire Sheffield Wednesday team's kit. The first team kit, alt names.
Yeah.
They broke into dressing room and stole all kit. So that you got like Waddle and you got all like
brilliant.
shirts,
Yeah.
and there were obviously people's getting a few quid for them because that's the match worn shirt, isn't it?
That's the real deal.
Yeah,
That's the real thing. Yeah.
I know.
We had a lad worked in an abattoir, and we give him credit, and he only orders about 40 quid, and to pay his puss, he brought us a bin bag full of steak in.
Yeah, amazing.
Bloody hell.
Incredible. But it's incredible. But these characters are gone. I mean, you just go in and say, "Well, a pair of trousers," come back, and the following week you say, "Well, those trousers were a little bit tight." Okay, I'll take them back. So you have to go and take them back and go and get another pair. Another pair the following week. And those people, I just don't think they exist anymore. I think the world's nastier and more aggressive now because these were lovable in quote rogues, weren't they?
Yeah, different times. The people that's around now, they're just bursting.
Oh yeah, they're going with a gun, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
if you wanted it, they're going to shoot someone to get it.
Right, one final question from Alan's Vegetable. And to be honest, Alan is quite correct here. Are stormtroopers the most useless soldiers ever created for TV? Because he makes a very good point here, because they've got all this armour.
I was saying admit anything.
All you got to do is shoot them, and armour doesn't do. So what are they wearing it for?
Well, yes, I suppose the Nazi stormtroopers were quite effective for a period of time, weren't they? But the Star Wars ones, not so much. I agree with Alan. I think that they are useless, aren't they?
Yeah, they didn't do fist fights. It weren't like you were protecting yourself. You're going either lightsabered or shot. And you just shot them and armoured it now. Terrible armour there from Empire.
Dido Harding supplied the armour.
Dido Harding supplied the armour, John.
Yeah, fucking 200 million contract with the Death Star, yeah. They're all fucking dead. Never mind, I'm going to work for the rebels now. Fuck you, Death Star, yeah.
Well, John, what do you think to that?
They were a piss poor bunch, weren't they, really, when you think about it? I mean, there was that one banged his head going through the door as well.
Yeah. They edit that out, didn't they?
His armour did fuck all for him again. He had a helmet on, didn't he?
Yeah.
It still is.
No, he's right. It's right. Absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Waste of time.
The most useless, absolute set of troops that you could ever have on the planet.
Hang on, though. What about the Red Indians that used to ride the horses round the circle of wagons?
Yeah.
Just trying to shot.
Oh, yeah. Wagons. They just come out at wagon and shoot them.
Yes. First
that
Nation
was
Americans now. Can't say Red Indians anymore. It's First Nation, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. Washington Redskins, of course, changed the name. Right.
Absolutely right.
I think that's enough rabble and terrible talk from us trio. We've enjoyed it as always. Enjoy the England game tonight. Prediction is match abandoned. 0-0 on 66 minutes with no shots on target. Let's hope that transpires, makes us all even more miserable. That's all from me, John and Chris. Bye for now.